Again, we're kind of jumping around, so problem number 7 on your paper, you can just set it there, that's fine. We have 18x to the negative 8th power, y to the 0 power, z to the 7th power, and that is all divided by 12 x to the third, or negative 3rd power, sorry, z to the negative 2 power. Okay? So again, be very careful when you're copying your problem. Make sure you are writing the right exponents and you don't leave off those little negatives. So now what I'm going to do is, just like before, I'm going to go through and circle anything that has a negative exponent. So on the top, I'm going to circle x to the negative 8. And make sure I wrote that right. Yeah. In the denominator, I'm going to circle x to the negative 3rd power. And I'm going to circle z to the negative 2. Those negative exponents are going to flip when I start listing this out. Those 2 on the bottom will go to the top. The one I circled on the top will get listed in the bottom. This is why I say it's very important to circle these so you don't forget to do it. The other thing that I do notice in here, yet again, I have y to the 0 power. So it becomes a 1, which means, what do I get to do with it? Cross it off. So I'm going to go ahead and do that immediately. Y to the 0 power is just 1. 18 times 1 is just 18, so it's not important. It doesn't do anything. It just disappears. Okay, so now I have the essential information. I'm going to rewrite this and start my big lists. This gets kind of confusing, so make sure you do it slowly. On the top, I still have my 18 for now. I'm going to draw my little fraction line. I'm going to go through what's on the top that's not circled first. So my variables are going to get a little out of order. Usually they're alphabetical, but we don't care. So on the top, I have my 18. The x will go to the bottom. My y was crossed off, but I do have z to the 7th, so I'm going to list that out first. So I'm going to write out my 7 z's. 6, 7. Okay, now I'm going to look at my denominator to see if there's anything that I circled that needs to go to the top. So if I go through the denominator, the 12 wasn't circled, so I'm not going to move it. The x's were circled, so I'm going to move those up to the top. I'm going to list those 3 x's in the top. I'm also going to put a little slash through it to remind myself that I moved those already. So once I listed my 3 up top, I put a slash through my circle. Okay, the next item that I had circled was z to the negative 2. So I need to list those z's on top. So I'm going to list my 2 z's again on top, and I'm going to cross it off to remind myself that I already listed it. That way when I do the denominator, I don't get all confused, hopefully. Okay, so now I'm going to go through and I'm going to list my denominator. In the bottom, my denominator, I have a 12, so I'm going to write my 12. I'm going to go through and see if there's anything else already down in the denominator that gets to stay. I already listed my x's, I already flipped my z's, there's nothing else beyond that. So right now I'm just with my 12. Now I'm going to go back to the top and see if there was anything I circled that had to flip down. So going through the top, the 18 wasn't circled, but my x to the negative 8th was. So I'm going to take that those 8 x's and I'm going to list them in the denominator. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I'm going to cross that off because I took care of it. I flipped it. Again, the z to the 7th wasn't circled, so I'm not going to write that in the bottom. If it helps you every time you write something in your list, you can cross it off. Like I could have crossed off z to the 7th. I could have crossed everything off to make sure I listed it again. Probably would have been a smart idea. From here, you're just simplifying it. So you cross off whatever's the same on top and bottom first, and then you'll start doing your counts. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to cross off. In the top, I have a whole bunch of z's, but none in the denominator. I do have 3 x's in the top that can cancel with some in the denominator. So for each x I cross off on top, I'm going to cross 1 off in the denominator. For you guys, since you're just using pencils or all the same color, it might be helpful if you actually like scratch them out. Because when you put a little line, sometimes it just looks like part of your x. So I'm going to scratch out a second x from top and bottom, and I'm going to scratch out a third x from top and bottom. Okay, now I can look to rewrite my fraction. When I rewrite this, I do notice here that I have this 18 divided by 12. Can I reduce that? Can I reduce 18 and 12? Yeah, I can divide them both by what? 6. 6 would be the biggest number, the easiest, the best thing to reduce them by. So if I do 18 divided by 6, what do I get? 3. And if I do on the denominator 12 divided by 6, 2. Why did I write 6? I don't know why I wrote 6. I divided by 6. That answer should have been 3 on the top. Don't mind me. Hopefully you guys wrote in pencil. That should have been a 3 on top. There we go. You can't reduce it further than that. Sorry. 3 over 2. My bad. So now I can go through and I can count my variables. So the thing that I have on top are z's. So I'm going to write my z and I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 z's up top. So z to the 9th power. In the denominator, the only variable I have is x. So I'm going to list my x and then I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So x to the 5th power. That would be my final answer. Okay? Sorry for that little hiccup